Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel for part 2 of my 7-part series leading up to National Novel Writing Month. What am I even doing? But here we go. Today is about fan fiction. As I mentioned in yesterday's video, the first video, I really got into writing starting with fan fiction, so we're gonna go with it, and I figured why not let it have its own video. So got my little notes in front of me again, so if I'm doing a lot of this, it's because I'm reading, and I'm gonna be doing a lot of reading because I'm gonna read an excerpt, 2 actually, from my fan fiction from forever ago. And looking back on embarrassing fan fictions can be enjoyable, right? Like, it's just I put so much effort into it and so much time, and it's kind of sad and pathetic. But why not share it on the internet? So for context for my fan fiction, it's a Harry Potter fan fiction, obviously. There's only like 2 stories in my life that I feel like I know enough about the world to write a fan fiction for, and one is Lord of the Rings, and I would never do that to Lord of the Rings. And not that I like hate Harry Potter, but Harry Potter, it's a lot easier to kind of insert yourself in that world, and it's more of a fun world to live in anyways. I'd rather go to Hogwarts than go fight battles in Lord of the Rings. So the plan for this was to write from, I think it was about December before Deathly Hallows came out, and just to write for about 6 months and like have a 50-page long fan fiction. And things didn't really work out that way. I did write for 6 months, but it was definitely more than 50 pages, and I definitely wrote for longer than 6 months. And I was never planning on posting it online, but I did, and people read it, and they messaged me, and I actually met like one of my best friends through this, so if nothing else, it was not a waste of time and a waste of life for that, because we just celebrated our like 7-year friendiversary this year. It's a thing. It's a thing. But like, who would have thought that writing a Harry Potter fan fiction and posting online would lead to such a great friendship? Who would have thought? Then Deathly Hallows came out after I'd written my fan fiction and started posting it online. And remember, like, Deathly Hallows was when I was gonna stop. I was only trying to fill the space between the Half-Blood Prince and Deathly Hallows with something. Like, I had started reading fan fictions and I decided to write my own. That was the plan. And then I figured once I've done reading Deathly Hallows, Hogwarts time is over, Harry Potter is over for me. That's it. That's it. I'm good. So I read Deathly Hallows, and then I kept writing my fan fiction. And I spent over 5 years writing my fan fiction. And at the end, it was 408 pages long. What? And you know, part of me wished that I had used that time and that effort to do something original, like one of my own stories. But also, I don't think I'd be where I am writing-wise if I hadn't. I think it was the path I needed to take. And looking back, yes, it is embarrassing, but I definitely learned how to write while I was writing this fan fiction. My fan fiction was called Could This Be Love? Which I abbreviate always to CTBL, so like when I'm texting my friends about it, because we still talk about it. It's a huge part of all of our lives. We can abbreviate it, and it was a Draco Malfoy fan fiction, of course, with another character, original character that I put in. So I'm gonna start with an excerpt from the beginning of it. For context, this is the very first thing that I wrote for this story. So it's like, I got this idea, I didn't plan anything, and I just started writing. And it was very heavily influenced by what I was reading at the time fanfic wise, because that was kind of the only thing I knew. And yeah, looking back, and I've looked back at it a few times, I can't believe that I ever put it on the internet. And honestly, I can't believe that I'm putting it on the internet again, right now. Why? Why am I doing this? Because it's funny, and other people need to know. In case you're wondering, yes, there will likely be interjections as I read this, and probably some like face palming action, because I'm just looking at the first little bit and it's so bad. It's so bad. I remember even looking back, like the first 150 pages of this fanfiction are terribly written. They're terribly planned, and like why did I think people would want to read it? And moreover, why did people read it? But I don't know. Quantity. I mean, yeah, I think people were just the quantity because I kept posting. But yeah, here we go. My name is Jade Summers and I am a witch. I have dark brown hair and black eyes and am turning 16 today. I go to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and come September, I will be starting my 6th year. I am a fairly powerful witch and can use magic without the use of my wand. This is very convenient, but I don't want people to know, so I always use my wand. I also never have to say spells out loud. Fortunately, this was somewhat common because we had to learn it in school, but I still say a lot of spells out loud just to keep people off my back. Both of my parents were in Slytherin, both of them are Death Eaters, and therefore I'm obviously in Slytherin and clearly a pureblood. I don't necessarily condone what my parents do under the influence of he who must not be named, but I do think that the Mudbloods and Blood Traders are unworthy of our time, and the Muggleborns should not be allowed to attend Hogwarts. However, Dumbledore is so much of a Muggle lover that they still attend. Oh well, everything can't be perfect in life, but tonight will at least be fun. It's the first paragraph. She's like the perfect character. She's like amazing at magic, rich, pure-blooded, perfect. Whatever, just like, I don't even know who this character is. Anyway, let's learn more about her. It gets so bad so fast. It's just like, it starts here and then it just takes. And there was no uptake, it just takes. Tonight, my parents are throwing a party to celebrate my 16th birthday, and tonight is the night that I will receive my dark mark from the Dark Lord himself. Like, is that even a thing? I'm pretty sure you like have to want to worship him to get a dark mark. He's not just like, dark marks for all! As I said before, I am not sure if I'm supportive of the whole Muggle baiting and taking over the world kind of thing, but I am a good daughter, and I will make my parents proud and do as they say. Sure, I've been punished before, but I know I deserved it because I didn't obey my father. It happens very often that I don't obey him. For the special occasion of tonight, my mother bought me a gorgeous dress to wear. It was a white dress with a sweetheart neckline and fans out in an A-line fashion. I'm great at fashion descriptions, can you tell? With a bit of crinoline underneath to give it some body. It is absolutely beautiful and it makes me look radiant. My hair is done up in a curly updo and my makeup is light to show off my natural beauty. Tonight is the night that I seal my fate for the future and that I make my parents proud. Just FYI, when I wrote this, I was like 18, never been in a like serious relationship. Why does that matter? But it's like, all I had to go for on like all this kind of stuff, I'm not even a fashionable person now, but all I had to go on this type of stuff was what I was reading in fan fictions and what I had read in books. So the outfits sound terrible. There's like, I don't think it gets to it, but she like decorates her room in like bright blue, is it bright blue bedding? Like bright blue silk bedding and red carpet. It sounds so hideous. Why did I think that was okay? Anyways. At 5:30, just after I'd finished getting ready, Kira, our house elf, came up my room to let me know that my father and a guest wanted to see me in his study. Kira is actually the name of my aunt's dog that just recently passed away, so you know, she's forever immortalized in my story. It was here, the time for me to receive my mark, and I couldn't believe that I was going to see the Dark Lord in person. The though, supposed to be thought, both frightened and excited me. I checked my appearance in the mirror once more before I slowly headed out my door and down the stairs to my father's study. I walked past the grand ballroom where the celebration was to be held and was breathtaken by the decorations. I wanted to linger and take it all in, but then I remembered why I had come downstairs in the first place. I walked to the door of my father's study and knocked lightly. Anticipation. Sorry, I gotta scroll down. Come in, my father beckoned. Duh. You'd think that I was so into this, you'd think I would have spell checked it. I braced myself and opened the door, walking in with my head bowed into the floor. Like, that sounds, obviously she's looking at the floor, but it's like head bowed into the floor, like, just like scraping her forehead on the carpet as she walks in. I got halfway to my father's desk and curtsied, still avoiding looking up. I just imagine now, like, head to the carpet and trying to curtsy. Jade, darling, started my father. Today is a wonderful day for both our family and for you. Today is the day that you start on the journey to the rest of your life. I knew my father would be standing to the right-hand side of the Dark Lord. Why? How? So I finally raised my face towards him with a weak smile. It was then that I noticed my father's large chair was facing the other way, clearly occupied by the Dark Lord. Of course, we need to like have that intrigue when the chair turns around and the reveal. At this point, however, the chair started to slowly rotate and I bowed my head once more, looking at the floor. I could feel the Dark Lord walking towards me. His presence filled the room. So, my friend and I decided to write a really terrible fan fiction. Not this one, but this like us and another one of our friends got kidnapped by Death Eaters and like had to like wait on the Dark Lord. I'm just remembering this now, and but this reminded me there was a part in that story where we would go like serving food. It's like, here's salad, and he's like, salad. I don't know why I find that so funny, but it was just like such a stupid thing. This is how much me and my friends were all into Harry Potter and Harry Potter fan fiction at the time. I so got distracted. I could feel the Dark Lord walking towards me. His presence filled the room. I saw his shoes in my line of vision and knew that I was shaking slightly in the presence of one of the most powerful wizards of all time. Does he wear shoes? I don't think he does. Just imagine like, yes, I need a size 12, please. That's how the Dark Lord talks in my head. Suddenly he reached up and grabbed my chin, tilting it up slightly so he could examine my face. Still, I avoided looking at him until finally he spoke, perhaps out loud, perhaps in the confines of my head. I will never know. Look at me, child, he said. Oh, sorry, I gotta do the voice. Look at me, child, he said. Do not be afraid of greatness. This will not hurt. But like, why? It was just, hey, your daughter is your daughter, so dark mark. So following his command, which I do not think I could have resisted, I looked up and was immediately drawn to his slit-like eyes. I lost myself in those eyes, and while under their influence, I felt my left arm being lifted and the Dark Lord place his palm on my forearm. I immediately felt as if part of my soul was being ripped out of my body. The touch started out cold, but it soon turned into a fierce, hot pain. My arm was burning. I knew I had to take it or my father would punish my later and be very angry. But I couldn't take it. My head started to hurt as well and I dropped to my knees. I was starting to black out from the pain. I reached up to, nope, that's just me not being able to read. I reached up with my right hand and attempted to free my arm from the Dark Lord's grip, but it was useless. I had no strength, and upon trying, I found our arms almost glued together. Eventually, though, he pulled his arm away and I lay there panting on my hands and knees. I watched my father walk out from behind his desk and proceed out the door behind Lord Voldemort. That was the last thing I saw because I soon collapsed face first on the carpet and into darkness. I awoke only 30 minutes later to hear his pleas. It's like, this is a very important day for you, Jade. We're presenting you to society as a 16-year-old, and you're getting your dark mark. Oh, she passed out on the carpet. Totally fine. Mistress, you must come now. Master wishes to see you, and all the guests have arrived. They are waiting for you, mistress. I was still a little groggy and lightheaded, but I knew that I had to compose myself or my father would not be impressed. I look at my left arm to see the dark mark standing out boldly against my pale but irritated skin. I slowly rose to my feet, brushed off my dress, shook some sense into my head, and walked out the door of the study. I opened the door and walked back towards the ballroom. So she walked out the doors of the study, and then she opened the doors and walked back towards the ballroom. Sure, we'll go with it. And walked back towards the ballroom, noticing the double doors were closed, and my father stood outside, waiting for me to accompany him in. Nope, waiting for me to accompany me in. That at least makes sense. It's her day. Darling, he said as I approached him. He pulled me into a deep hug as kissed me on the forehead. I'm just going with the spelling and grammar errors. I'm just going with them. Your mother and I are so proud of what you have done, honey. So proud. She did nothing. She did absolutely nothing. She passed out. Good job, honey. Shall we now enter and show you off to your guests, he asked me. Certainly, father, I replied, bowing my head slightly to my father as I always did. He noticed this and told me that tonight was my night and that I should hold my head high. Asterisks within reason. And with that, the doors of the ballroom opened. My father took my hand and we walked into a room full of wizards, mainly Death Eaters, and their families. I'm assuming that they're like, all have to be Death Eaters because like, dark mark. Somebody's gonna rat you out on that one. Just saying. I smiled as my father showed me off, as all good daughters do. We walked into the center of the room for the traditional father-daughter dance to start off my birthday celebration. A waltz came on and we moved gracefully around the room. After a short amount of time, the rest of the guests joined in to dance. The second song started when someone approached my father. Who could it be? It's not who you think it is. Unless you think it's the person that it is. May I have the next dance with your beautiful daughter? Asked a tall blonde man, a dear friend of the family. Certainly, Lucius, said my father, offering my hand. Did you guess that? Or did you think it was Draco? Well, I wouldn't have it any other way. And with that, my father disappeared. I turned my attention to my father's good friend, whom I had known since childhood. He had taken my hand and was now gently placing a kiss on it. Oh, it seems so creepy to me. I curtsied and bowed my head slightly in a sign of respect, and soon we started to dance. I quickly realized that Lucius had an alternative reason for coming over to see me, however, as he soon brought up the subject of his son, Draco Malfoy. There it is. Certainly you know my son, Jade. His name is Draco Malfoy. Family friend. Obviously she knows his last name. She's probably met him like at events. In this actual storyline, she doesn't really meet him before, but I may have decided to write another fan fiction at some point, and it may be one that starts from when Jade's 11, so I get to rectify some of the issues. That's the one that I'm 180 pages into, handwritten pages. Very, very committed. Very committed. Anyway, we'll just keep going. And like you, he is in Slytherin and about to start his 6th year. Yes, sir, I replied. I most certainly know of your song. That was me. Of your son. We are not friends, however, but I respect and trust him. I knew how to answer these questions. All right, okay, I'll give it to her. I had been well trained since my birth to please my superiors. This makes me so angry. Although I had known Lucius since I was a baby, I had never met Draco. Yeah, you did. You totally did. You go to the same school, you're in the same house, you probably have the same classes together. Usually Lucius would come over for Death Eater business, or my father would go over to the Malfoy Manor. I also knew that Lucius had just recently been broken out of jail by the Dark Lord. Gotta draw that actual story in. Very good girl, Lucius said, clearly pleased. The song had just ended. Shall I take you back to your father? He questioned me. I nodded and he slipped my arm onto his and we walked back through the crowd to where my father was standing with my mother, Lucius's wife Narcissa. I don't know if I say that right, sorry. And their son Draco. As soon as we reached the small circle, I curtsied while still holding Lucius's arm. It's so awkward, like We made small talk for a while, and then my father suggested that Draco take me out for a walk in the garden because the adults had something to discuss. Strange that he would be taking me, considering this was my house. But that was always the way it was. Men are addressed and women are not. And unless women become powerful, they are never recognized at all. Maybe I was a little bitter about this. And this was why I usually got punished. So at least she's a little headstrong. I'll go for that. I would disagree on something with my father, and he would have to show me my place as an inferior. So Lucius slipped my hand off of his arm and handed it to his son, who, like his father, kissed it gently. Ugh. I once more bowed, and Draco hooked my arm around his. As we walked away, they could... Nope. As we walked away, I could hear our parents saying how sweet we looked together. Wonderful, I thought. I hope they aren't trying to arrange our marriage. I had to stifle a laugh. Too much sarcasm for me. But honestly, Jade, come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. So Draco led me out to the gardens, and I have no idea how we found them, but we walked amongst the flowers for a while in the moonlight. It was really romantic. Too bad I was with someone I didn't know and we weren't talking to each other. So not at all romantic. It was only slightly awkward, but really beautiful. So conflicting. After not too long though, Draco pulled me back towards the house. It's like the awkwardest thing ever. Like, here, let's go for a walk. Silence, 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 back to the house. I was really sad to leave the gardens. I loved them so much and would often sit outside or roam through them. But I didn't have a choice because it was my birthday and I am not a male. True. We re-entered the ballroom and saw our family standing near the stage while my father beckoned us over. We walked through a crowd of happy dancing people and made it over to my father. May I? He asked Draco while reaching for my hand. Also, like, where did the Dark Lord go? Dude, he's like, I'm here for this ball, but I'm not actually here for this ball. He's Dark Mark, bye. Of course, sir, he said, looking my way while handing over my hand. And may I just say what a beautiful daughter you have. I could feel the blood rushing to my cheeks. And though how smooth Draco was, supposed to be thought. My father was very impressed, and I could tell he very much approved of Draco, being as he was courteous and coming from a well-respected, pure-blood Death Eater family. Obviously, he knows Draco. If he goes over to the Malfoy Manor, he knows Draco. And by this point, spoiler alert if you haven't read the books or see, Draco has his Dark Mark. He has his Dark Mark. Obviously, he knows him. Wonderful, I thought. Maybe they were going to attempt an arranged marriage. I was very much against arranged marriages. I thought they were archaic, old-fashioned, and more or less stupid. I wanted to marry for love and feelings, not who my parents picked out for me. However, I knew I had no say in the matter. I mean, we are a pureblood family, so we have to marry purebloods. And I know my parents would never let me choose. My father is far too controlling for that. I knew that when the time came, I would have no choice, and that it would be best to just go along with it, lest I be punished harshly and have to go along anyways. So she's like, I want to marry for love, but I know my parents won't let me pick it out, and I can't believe that they would ever think of doing an arranged marriage. She's so conflicted. I'm almost at the end of this part. This is going to be a very long video. My thoughts were suddenly interrupted by my father addressing the guests. Without even realizing it, I had ended up on the stage in the company of my father, my mother, and the Malfoys, which interested me. I couldn't think of any reason why they would be up there with us, unless, really, Jade, it took you this long? Dear guests, my father said, interrupting my thoughts once more. Today is a very special day for our family. Our daughter Jade has turned 16. Today she is exactly 1 year away from coming of age and entering into the service of the Dark Lord. Obviously everyone here has to be Death Eaters or Death Eater sympathizers. Like, you wouldn't just announce this to a room full of random people. Today she has also received her Dark Mark from the Dark Lord himself. You wouldn't. Today I am very proud of my daughter. But that is not all. Today we have another wonderful announcement. I looked up to my father. Surely not, I thought. Today, my wife and I have arranged with the Malfoys the marriage of our daughter and their son, Draco Malfoy. In the near future, our two proud, pureblood families will come together, ensuring our survival against the filthy mudbloods and muggles. I couldn't believe what I was hearing my father saying. There was no way. I didn't even know Draco, and I hadn't even left school yet. All these emotions and questions were running through my head, driving me insane. But I knew I couldn't let this show. I may have faltered for a moment upon hearing of this announcement, but I soon covered up with a smile and a look of pride. I glanced at Draco. He was smirking, and I could tell that he knew of this long before tonight. Oh well, there was nothing I could do at the moment, and I doubt there's any way for me to get out of it now, as there's a room full of witnesses. I clearly missed some sort of cue, because my father was looking at me strangely, and to the other side of me was Draco with his hand out. I took his hand, hoping that my father would forget this lack of attention, as the crowd burst into applause. Draco led me down the stairs and onto the dance floor, where we shared our first dance as an engaged couple. There isn't even a ring, like, come on. If you knew about it, get a ring. I got distracted, I lost where I was. If nothing else, at least he can dance very well. Well, that's all that matters. Stuck marrying the guy, but at least he can dance well. We ended up sharing most of the remaining dances together, although we never talked. What a catch! Soon, in the wee hours of the morning, the party was over. Draco kissed me on the cheek and headed out with his parents. As I watched them go, I felt someone come up behind me. It was my father, and he wanted to know what I thought about Draco, seeing as we spent the majority of the night together. 'Cause we had to. I told my father that I very much approved of him and thought that he was quite kind and sweet. And the best part, my father stated, is that he received his dark mark at the age of 13. Did he actually? Probably not. Very loyal, that boy. Very loyal. Speaking of which, darling, you shall sport your dark mark, just says mark, that's fine, with pride and honor while at home or in the presence of other Death Eaters. However, you must ensure that it is hidden from prying eyes. Yes, of course, father. Okay, so that is the end of that excerpt, which is like the very first 2 pages or so of my Harry Potter fanfiction called Could This Be Love? That took a little longer than I thought it would to record, so I think I'm going to do the excerpt from near the end in a different video, because otherwise it's gonna be like an hour. But I hope you enjoyed that cringe-worthy situation with me. I hate it so much. Part of the reason that I want to reboot this fanfiction is to fix all the issues that I hate. Jade in the reboot is a much stronger woman, girl, lady, person, I don't know, age, right? More headstrong, smarter, less acquiescing. So, but that is the end of this video. If you enjoyed watching the cringiness, feel free to hit that like button down below. I am doing a series. This is video 2. I think the next one's gonna be video 2.5 because it's on the same topic. So there's 7 videos, but it'll likely actually be 8, it seems, at this point. So it's gonna be going for a while, leading up to National Novel Writing Month, which starts on November 1st. And yeah, so feel free to subscribe, because on top of this random stuff, I also do post daily vlogs. Yeah. So I will see you in the next video.